This is Wilson Morales from Black Film TV. It's my pleasure to talk to directors Joe Brewster, Miche le Stephenson on Going to Mars, the Nikki Giovanni Project story. How's it? Congratulations on the Sundance win. It's not always easy to win an award, but when you win the grand jury prize at Sundance, that says a lot. So let's go back to say, you guys have worked on a lot of documentaries. What went into taking on this project? Joe?
We wanted to get better. We wanted to stretch our wings. We wanted to, we've been making documentary films for a while, and but there's so many directions you can go in. You can do animated pieces. You can do musical, character, and we wanted to be a little more experimental and take some risks. So we started off setting that as a goal for ourselves. That how can we tell a story and really think differently about montage and how that it informs your storytelling.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we wanted to, we had done 13 years of like very sort of classic observational verite work with some interviews, and really wanted to sort of shift, artistically. So this idea of delving into archive, focusing on one person, their life, an artist who has moved us deeply over the decades, felt like something that would be really interesting creatively for us.
When you go on to our project, and I always say with documentaries, there is no end date. With a film, it's like, okay, there's a beginning, there's an end, there's a script. With a documentary and somebody who's a living legend, you don't know where you're going to start and where you're going to end. Was that a lot into consideration as far as, where do we want to start with Nikki? Her background is so diverse and so much that's in there that you guys can squeeze it in. Did you guys go into the mindset as far as how you were going to end it?
No. We go into it saying that this is going to be emotionally resonant, and so we shoot and edit initially thinking about the power of emotion and almost stringing up scenes that are strong, that make me laugh or cry or think. And then comes the process of, order. Interesting thing is we're old enough, or we've been in this long enough to know that the ending is one of the last things that happens. And the beginning is one of the last things. A good beginning is one of the last things that happens. So we just focus on the meat and the potatoes, emotion and story, and then we move to structure.
Yeah, I do think, sorry, just to add, I do think that we had the sort of advantage that time gave us. And so we would edit and cut and see if we really needed more material or not, or did we feel that we had enough to put something together. And I think that sort of came to fruition in terms of that turning point, that we felt that we had enough at the beginning sort of the pandemic, and that whatever we were going to shoot after that was going to be elements to sort of heighten what we already had. And actually it never happened. So we ended up going back to some material that we had before to really help us provide the glue with things we had already shot, and we just looked at it with a different perspective, and that helped us finish the film.
Well, your
audience. How long was the process? How long was the project?
7 years. It took 7 years from September 2015 to essentially a couple of days before Sundance in 2023, January 2023.
But I wanted to just give a little context for your audience that they may or may not know Nikki. who is an amazing poet and chronicler of Black life in America. I would say she's more of a personal poet. So she uses her personal story as a foundation for anything that she does. And so that we wanted to tell that story in her story, but we used her personal struggles, which are currently that she's losing her memory, and that she's having seizures as part of the vehicle of telling the story. So what the audience will see, right, is her struggling through memory loss and struggling through seizures, while she recalls vividly parts of her life. And so we had to create a mechanism for doing that, but also ground the audience so that they're sure of where they are, even though we're moving in time and space all the time. That was our that was the task that we had to accomplish, and it took us a while to do that.
How was Nikki at this point? Obviously, pandemic in between these years, and with the
Well, I think your audio is
We lost you. We've lost you. We couldn't get your question. Sorry.
Oh, well, I'm saying, was there any point in time because of the pandemic that Nikki wanted to stop, or did she keep saying keep going?
Oh no, quite the opposite. The pandemic was not going to stop her, except when there was lockdown, right? But no, in fact, the very last shoot that we did with Nikki was a photo shoot here in New York City that happened the week that people were asked to go into lockdown, and she did not cancel it and decided to come all the way up to New York City and take the risk of back in the time we were at the epicenter, right, New York City, and she came and filmed that, and we came in and we shot that. That was the very last sort of in-person shoot that we did with Nikki before finishing the film, and it made it. It made it to the final cut of the film.
At what point did you decide to call it Going to Mars?
Well, that happened early on. It may be a couple of years into the process. We had worked with one editor, and we were taking a break at that point. I think. Are you there, Wilson?
I'm here.
We were taking a break. And
wait, give me a second. There we go.
So
can you see me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I was saying about 2 years into the process, we were taking a break from the editing. And during that process, we took a deep dive into her poetry, and we discovered Quilting the Black Eyed Pea. And that was amazing discovery, because we saw ways in which to use that and the metaphor that and parallels in that poem that speak to her personal experience, but also speaks to our experience as filmmakers.
When we heard her recite that poem, we felt something go off for us. I remember we were in her home. This was the first year we were filming with her. And we thought about this would be a great title, but didn't know yet how we were going to mold parts of this recurring, having the poem recur in the film and what it would mean and how we would build that. And then we spent the next few years experimenting with that poem and what it could express visually.
As a directing team, you know, what's your takeaway after you've completed one project? Do you now take with you for your next project?
Well, I think it doesn't occur one project at a time. We are evolving as artists, and we evolve in terms of our work. Even if you look at the our body of work, you'll see elements of what we wanted to do in the work prior to that. And so we were always doing short form work, and that's where we get a chance to experiment most. We had started doing archival and experimental short form work for clients. We were working on augmented reality and virtual reality installations, and all of that has gradually seeped into our work and formed the next project. So right now we're thinking about what we're going to do 3 projects from now. Unfortunately, documentary filmmaking doesn't compensate us and pay the rent as fully as we would like, and so we're always juggling multiple balls in the air.
Well, in fact, when we're working on stuff simultaneously, they sometimes feed off each other. Like Black Girls Play, the ESPN piece, and Going to Mars definitely fed off each other, and their focus on you know, the genius of Black women, even in terms of archival, our teams sort of cut through both projects. So they sort of informed each other to a certain extent. And that often happens. You know, we did another film, Stateless, that came out in 2020, where we were playing with different planes of reality as well, that helped inform how we approached going to Mars. And so in some ways, Going to Mars is really the culmination of different modes of experimentation in different films coming to sort of fruition. We also brought our skill set as observational filmmakers to the work with Going to Mars, in terms of how we approached the vérité scenes with Nikki, how we you know, accompanied her on her tours, her book tours. That skill set we brought really was really helpful to help sort of set up and establish a level of intimacy that may not have been happening in the dialogue, but that we could sort of transmit through how we shot.
I think we have a real clear mandate for what we want to do. We want to tell Black stories. We want to focus on complicated characters. We want to inspire our viewers, but we are committed to telling artful stories artfully in a way that excites us. So there's where we start. Both of us are come to cinema from different areas. I was a physician, and I found the art of storytelling a healing process, as important as any psychotherapist or surgeon. And so, you know, my goal was to tell stories and to uplift. And what we discovered is telling a complicated story does that, whether it's an ending that you agree with or makes you sad or makes you happy. So that's where we start. And so we have a tool set that's huge, and we want to use all of the colors in the crayon box. Could be animation, could be augmented reality, it could be virtual reality, it could be narrative, long-form documentary.
What do you want the audience to get from watching Going to? For those who obviously know who Nikki Giovanni is, and I learned some stuff as I watched this, you know, especially since you're, you know, but for who going to learn about her. You know, for those who already know a little bit about her, or if not so much, what do you want us to walk away from watching this documentary?
Well, you know,
Michelle?
yeah, many people watch documentaries about people they don't know. So we definitely, I mean, the majority of documentaries that are made that have like these riveting characters, participants who bring us into their world are people we don't know. That's the majority. And I wouldn't necessarily call this a celebrity film either. In some ways, it's a non-biopic. We're looking at the impact of her poetry. So we want folks to come in open-minded. I don't take away for audience is not necessarily the purpose for us, for me anyway, as an artist. I'm a woman from the Caribbean. I'm of Haitian descent, was born in Haiti, have my ancestors fought in the Haitian Revolution. I think that for me, it is part of this honoring the generations that came before us in a way that is healing, as Joe says, but also in a way that pushes certainly me to think about the world differently. And that's what I hope, well, that's what I feel I get when I watch this, when I read Nikki's poem. And we hope in some ways that this film is somewhat like a poem, that you can always go back to it, rewatch it, and have something new come out of it. Because I also know that a great piece of art stands on its own, and we as viewers come to it with our own baggage and are able sometimes to pull things out of it that I, as the artist or storyteller, would never have predicted. And that's the greatest sort of honor I could experience.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, Nikki speaks to that in her in the film as well, in terms of what is the purpose of art and what does it do.
Mm-hmm. Joe?
I didn't hear the question.
What do you want audiences to get from watching this movie?
I don't really have a take home for the audience. I want to experience the complexity of this world that we created, and that's enough. I would like them to experience all the emotions, greed, happiness, and go home and really think about the issues that were really raised within the film. You know, at this point in time where everything is binary in terms of good and bad and villains and saviors, I think we need a reset so that we're thinking about life and solutions to life's problems in a more complex way.